Hello and welcome back from the break. I hope you all had some chance to catch up and mingle a little bit. We're very excited to kick things off with the next portion. Congratulations to all the startups that have already pitched. What an exciting day. We're onboarding 17 new companies. And also what exciting news. We're really looking forward to work together with Roche for the next 3 years and transforming healthcare together. But to introduce myself, Fabian Scheugenpflug. I'm working on the ventures team here at the startup Creasphere. Together with Max, we're responsible for all the startups that you've seen and will see today, and also for our alumni startups. So we're really excited to have two alumni starters with us today, Lana from Huma and I, and John from Vital. We want to also take the chance and give our new startups a little bit of insight into what to expect. Huma has been the last batch that actually has been here in person in Munich. And with that being said, Lana, it's great to have you. We're really looking forward to hear from you. Maybe you could give the audience also some background about you and the project and what you've done together with Roche.
That would be great. Thank you, Fabian, for the introduction. And before I get started, I want to say congratulations to all the startups that got selected for the Creasphere. I think it's a great honor, and you're going to be on a exciting trip on this. So my name's Lana Fenn. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Huma AI. So I actually came from sort of life sciences pharma side, spent over 20 years in precision medicine, developing targeted oncology therapeutics, combining diagnostics with drug development. So I was at Novartis Oncology Business Unit before co-founding Huma AI with my co-founder. So Huma AI is a venture-backed AI company. So we're smaller than Jonathan's company. I think he's going to give you more information on that. So we've raised $4.2 million so far from VCs and other investors, and have about 12 people, and we're actively hiring more. So what we do is we've developed this machine learning enabled a data system called, we call it knowledge automation. Is really about automating data and give end users, domain experts, the power to get insights out of data and then make real-time decisions. So think of it combining the ease of Alexa with the power of business intelligence. And then our beachhead is in medical affairs for pharma or medical device or diagnostic company, where they actually have to curate information from vast different types of data sources. They're all siloed, and also 80% of the data is unstructured. And using our end-to-end self-service solution, you'll just be able to ask a question, I get an answer, have this curated information so that you can personalize your engagement with HCPs.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lana. Would you care to also elaborate a little bit of what you did with Roche together during our batch?
Okay, great. So we are probably the only startup in the cohort that work with the pharma side rather than the diagnostic side. So it's very much work with their PRED and data team to be able to, because they built this PRED data commons, which is a public information. And there's many systems underneath, the expression data and what have you. But then the challenge is that it's very difficult for the end users who are the scientists, right? Not people who can write code, to be able to get information. So we're kind of that last mile, being able to allow end users to get data out of PRED. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Speaking about challenges and speaking about what we already heard today from Axel, he was talking about one project in particular Sanofi was working on and is still working on in Australia. With that being said, I would like also to have John a little bit talk about his company and the exciting stuff they do with Sanofi.
Sure, thanks, Fabian. And echoing Lana's congratulations to all the startups in the room for being part of the program. Super exciting times. So I'm Jonathan. I'm the founder and CEO of Vital. We're a next generation nutrition company featuring personalized supplements and nutrition advice via a chatbot infrastructure wrapped up in a millennial friendly brand that has an emotive as well as intellectual connection with our customers. I set the company up back in 2015 after spending a decade in investment management, both at Fidelity and then a fund called Citadel, and covering a whole range of different sectors, including medtech and luxury goods and pharma. And I could see what I felt was a paradigm shift on the horizon in terms of how users would start to use data to inform the consumption decisions that they would make. Initially, back in 2015, everyone told me that personalization was crazy, never going to happen, too difficult. And now, of course, it's in every McKinsey and Bain report out there. So it's been a super exciting ride over the last 5 to 6 years. And with regards to the kind of size of the company, we're UK based, have around 25 people, raised just under $10 million to date, and indeed are raising at the moment. So if there are any investors in the room, very happy to speak to you afterwards. We did a pilot program initially with Sanofi, who scoured the market for a whole range of different personalization options before deciding to press ahead on a kind of joint venture with Vital, where we connected Vital's innovation with Sanofi's kind of distribution and reach to recreate some of what we had already developed in the UK with some of what Sanofi wanted to do in Australia. So we actually have a kind of live project and business that is now live and kicking in Australia, which is great, and all started at startup Creasphere.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you. That gives a good overview, and you directly jumped into it. I think the audience is also particularly interested about your general experience with the, let's say, first steps together with Sanofi, and the experience around plug and play around startup Creasphere the first 3 months. Pardon.
Yeah, sure. So from our side, I think in terms of our kind of key learnings from the program, I think the broader principle of connecting innovation with distribution and resources is a really good one and is absolutely valid. The connection between the innovation and the distribution is a bit more fiddly and a little bit more complicated, because you have different shapes and sizes, cultures that are kind of connecting and combining those two skill sets. And so I think really that having the process of startup Creasphere to help guide that linking up of innovation and distribution is probably what's been most helpful when you think about the kind of program, and being able to provide a template and some structure with which you can progress projects and plans to an actual execution stage. It can take a long time, but anything that can be done to help that process and ease it for both parties, I think has been really helpful.
So Lana, what do you say to that? Does it mirror your experience, or do you have had a different experience?
I think I kind of came from pharma, right? So I was a head of pharma for a company called Genoptics and built that from zero to $45 million. And then my division was the reason Novartis bought the whole company and got acquired from a sort of a mid-size or startup companies acquired into this global pharma, right? So I think the company was bought for $500 million. So I understand the inertia of global pharma. I think that's probably the biggest challenge, what we felt we kind of encountered. Really, so the advice I have to the fellow startups is to leverage your champion and your sponsor for the program. Really leverage them to kind of be your internal champion at either Roche or Sanofi or the other participants in the Creasphere. I think that would help you tremendously. And I have some other kind of anecdotal experiences, right? Because everyone is so busy. You're basically another additional piece on their plate, right? It's really kind of easy to fall off. And so what we did, we actually set up a biweekly meeting meeting. So, we're always like, okay, yes, the meeting is coming up. What do we do with Roche, particularly for startups, right? If you're successful, you have different customers, you have different mandates, you have limited resources. So that really helped us. And the other thing I wish we did more was to marketing, right? Market this event, market your collaboration through a Creasphere, like on LinkedIn and what have you, really kind of generate that buzz. Then I wish I did more of that.
That's fantastic and valuable insight. Thank you, Lana. And I would also like to encourage all the startups to really use our platform for that purpose and reach out to Christina and see what you can do together and how you can best harness everything around that. But speaking about additional aspects of the program, not only in terms of the partnership with our partners, but also in terms of what has been part of your journey with the program on a plug and play side of things. Is there anything that you would like to point out, or anything that you can really recommend?
You want me to answer?
Yeah, Lana.
Okay, so far has been a really fantastic experience, right? Like Fabian said, we were the last batch before the lockdown. So so we kind of felt lucky there. So really kind of, I think for the current batch, you will miss that interaction, going to the pub, going to restaurant, have pizza and have beer together. But I think there's definitely big plus side as well, because traveling, I remember, was expensive, right? In our cohort of 6 for Roche, we had 2 European ones and 2 kind of APAC. One is from Australia, one's from Singapore, and 2 US. And we were complaining about how expensive it is for like 2 founders flying there multiple times. And also just a time eater, right? You're like out of pocket for like 20 hours sort of on average for each trip, just for the one flight. So I think there's definitely silver lining from going virtual. And the other thing I want to give a shout out to the Creasphere, the plug and play team. It's been super responsive, super supportive. Just just don't afraid to ask. They'll make it happen. And then also I want to say our free sort of initial engagement with Rose Pharma turned into paid programs. Yeah, so it's great for us.
Fantastic. That's amazing to hear. And that's also why we're here today. And that's always our vision, to really overtake the matchmaking, and in the end, after the program, have something tangible and something coming out of that. So John, how was your experience? I know you've been in the batch, one prior to Lana. So that was our second batch here in Munich, and I know there was a lot of back and forth traveling, but not too far. So how did you experience everything around that?
Yeah, we were lucky that it's only a hop, skip, and a jump from London to Paris, and we did manage to get in quite a few meetings just before lockdown happened. Actually, I think I probably made one of my last trips to Sanofi's head office to kind of celebrate the initial deal signing, which was great. So yeah, look, I think the experience has been really good. We've learned an awful lot around the nuances in dealing with a large partner, and startup founders do need to be aware of differences in objectives, differences in financial targets, differences in timings. And so it goes back really to that kind of interface thing. It's okay, like how does each party really help the other one achieve their objectives quicker than they otherwise would? And so I think even beyond the benefits of kind of the financial compensation for partnering with the big corporate, there's also a huge amount that can be learned from the experience of working with them, because it is very, very different, and hopefully also is useful for the kind of the large partners in terms of there's a cultural cross-pollination that happens, and so I think that's been really great to see. It also does make it it can make it challenging at times, right? Because your time frame versus their time frame might be very different. And as a startup founder, you're used to kind of racing against the clock and making stuff happen. And as a big corporate, you've obviously got a huge amount of goodwill, reputation, process to go through, legal, regulatory compliance, which is absolutely right. It's just that those things can sometimes be at loggerheads. And so I think the advice I'd have for founders is, work with your partner to see what the kind of optimal and kind of quickest solution is, but be very aware that they do have a kind of different playing field to work on than you do, and it's not always so easy just to kind of put up a website in a month and get cracking. Whereas it may well have been for you as a startup founder when you first started. It's not quite as easy for the big companies. So that would probably be one of the key learnings.
So you were talking about regulatory, like the entire regulatory connection and interaction. I know, like, also from internal information, that it has been quite a process for you. And in the days, maybe it might seem like a big hustle, but looking at it retrospectively, was it good for you, or was there also some outcome beyond that?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the regulatory one was really interesting because we're partnering in a country that we wouldn't otherwise have launched in, where the regulatory environment is different, where nutritional supplements are regulated by a kind of therapeutic goods mandate and quite different from the UK. And so leveraging all of Sanofi's expertise and experience in country to be able to kind of build upon what we'd learned in the UK, I think is a really good example of additive distribution experience with innovation.
Fantastic. Well, yeah. Touching on that, Lana, you mentioned during our call last time that you especially have also afterwards implemented those bi-weekly calls to maintain a partnership beyond the program and really to have that frequent touch points. Is that something that you would highly recommend to everyone else? And what is a hustle here sometimes, talking about that and talking about like the continuance of the partnership?
I really think it's a must. It's still ongoing for us. You can see from the partner side, sometimes you're like, oh, it's such a uses another bi-weekly, but they're there, right? So the fact that they are present for that 1 hour every other week is really critical. And we also have, like, this is very kind of tactical stuff, but just an example, right? You have a running agenda so that everyone knows. I think it's really about, when you're a startup working with global pharma, it's very much about managing expectations, right? Because I came from a big pharma. It's like, it's when they see something new, it's all about risk, right? But from a startup, it's about opportunities, right? So how do you kind of reach that middle ground is very critical. And also have something in mind, right? What is your objective out of this collaboration? So it's very much kind of figure out a way to engage them.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So if I sum that up now, I hope I sum it up correctly. The key takeaways for you have been, first of all, to also be aware of the standpoint of the big corporation, that they might need something else, or looking for from their glasses on maybe a different agenda, but still want to align that with you, and be aware of your own agenda and really align both sides. Take bi-weekly calls to nourish that partnership. And then also sometimes some things might seem to be a very like a hustle during the program and take a lot of effort, a lot of time, but in the end might pay off because you're much more ready for other partners and have key takeaways to learn from and to develop and further develop your business. Speaking about further developing your business outside of the program, I know it has been 1 year, 1.5 years since you participated. Where do you stand now? And like, is there anything that you would like to share about like Humor AI?
Oh, great. We've seen such huge traction. Like I said, right, we're targeting life sciences companies, this data automation platform to basically turn domain experts into your own data scientists. And then we've seen huge traction in the last several months that, we now we have 10 global pharma and large medical device companies as customers. And so we're actually actively raising a $10 million Series A. So if there are any investors in the audience who are interested in kind of touch base and start a conversation, we're more than happy to do that.
So, yeah, well, everybody in the audience, we have those capabilities for networking. Lana will be a little bit longer on the line afterwards, so feel free to mingle with her. But she was also touching base on fundraising, and I know, well, John, you already mentioned also that you're prepping for the next round, but it would be also fantastic to hear a little bit from your side how things have been progressing, and have there been any other projects developing besides the one with Sanofi ever since the program?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Fabian. So, I think we've probably grown 3 or 4x since the time of the batch, continued to expand, building out what we see as a kind of next generation nutrition company, trying to continue to elevate the brand, to have that emotive connection with the customer as well as that intellectual one. Excitingly, also about to launch nationwide TV advertising next month. Also signed 2 big retail partners to expand into becoming an omni-channel company. So we'll be in 1,000 stores with 8 SKUs by the end of Q2. We just poached the head of VMS from Procter & Gamble, which is quite exciting. So starting to muscle in on some of the larger guys' territory, and see a really exciting MPD pipeline for both us and a number of partners. So super excited about the future. My one kind of final takeaway would be to the startup founders. It's not an easy journey. It's always a roller coaster. It involves a lot of hard graft and hard times, but even the little wins get bigger and bigger, and it will all be worth it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, John, and congratulations to you both for that impressive growth and those impressive developments. It's always fantastic to see you, to catch up. And with that being said, that was it from our side. For all the startups that are joining, please take advantage of everything that you have and everything that you can do here and beyond that. And with that being said, handing it over back to the studio again, back to Friederike.